Hello everyone, in this episode of Motive Garage, we start a new project car. So let's go and pick up my very first brand new car. So why did I buy a Yaris? Well, I could tell you because it's the first WRC homologated car in over 20 years, since the 22B and the Evo 6.5 Tommy Mäkinen Lancer, or in Toyota's case, since the GT4 Group A Rally I, nearly 25 years. Or I could tell you the reason I bought it is because it's probably the performance car bargain of the decade. But the truth is probably a little bit funnier than that. I didn't pay a whole lot of attention to the GR Yaris, to be brutally honest, because, well, I'm not really into hatchbacks and I just bought a Supra. But the day they went on sale, or pre-order I should say, Toyota announced that the first 1,000 buyers in Australia could get this car for 40 grand drive away, which is more like 37 plus on roads, yet the retail price would be 50 plus on road, so closer to $54,000. That's pretty cheap and a pretty good deal. All you have to do is put $1,000 deposit online as well. And the problem is, so many of my mates started doing it and posting up their order on Facebook that, well, I got a bit of FOMO. All these workshops and all these other YouTubers, etc., were doing it. I'm like, I'm missing out. So I couldn't help it. I put the deposit down and just thought to myself, what's the worst thing that could happen is I let someone else buy my spot in the queue. So put my money down, went home and told my partner Susie, guess what? I bought a Yaris today. She absolutely burst out laughing. Why? She just heard Yaris and instantly thought what most people do. So I then went on to explain to her, you know what, this thing's pretty awesome. It's not actually a Yaris though. She goes, what do you mean it's not a Yaris? I go, well, they designed a whole new body for it that has a carbon roof, that's 2 inches shorter in the roof and it slopes down for better aerodynamics, that it's wide body, it's got aluminium panels, it's the most powerful 3-cylinder turbo in the world, makes 200 kilowatts, it's a 6-speed manual, all-wheel drive. It's great, massive brakes, like is one of the most awesome cars that Japan has built in a while now. She continued to laugh again and said that you bought a Yaris. So Toyota, take note, calling this thing the Yaris probably wasn't the smartest idea when normal people look at the car. But for us enthusiasts, we know just how special the new GR Yaris really is. So after putting down $1,000 deposit, I pretty much forgot about the Yaris until Castle Hill Toyota gave me a call and said, we have a demo, do you want to come and drive it? And I'm like, yeah, sure, of course I do. So I went down there, as soon as I saw it, as soon as I drove 500 meters, I was pretty much hooked on getting a GR Yaris. I was convinced in minutes rather than days that I wanted to own this thing. So the WRX went up for sale that afternoon and I knew I'd sell the MX-6 Turbo as well so we could make room for the GR Yaris. Now the WRX was built as a budget track car, but it wasn't registered, so we didn't have to worry about any drivability or streetability. While our plan with the GR Yaris is to have a car that you can drive on the street, it's your fun weekend car, but you can also take it to the track and be a competent track toy as well. I'm pretty excited about a different strategy for this car, and I'm also very excited about working on a whole new platform. Whole bunch of parts are just getting released for this thing every day. So it's like a kid in a candy store trying to find new parts, develop new things, test new things. So it's going to be a pretty good time in our GR Yaris. But the first thing we had to do after picking it up was get it on the hoist, take a good look over the car, work out its strengths and weaknesses and what we need to do with it. Now before you start modifying your car, I reckon it's actually a pretty good theory that you should probably understand your car, right? Like you should actually know what you're dealing with. Yeah. Now we've read a lot about the Yaris and seen other people's videos, but to actually get it on the hoist, our hoist, and take a proper look at it and find out what some of the weaknesses are, what some of the good things are, is probably a good idea, and we'll give you guys a bit of a tour of what we think of the Yaris underneath. Now, Grubbs worked on i30Ns a lot, and from
2 years.
Yeah, 2 years. First glance, I'd say it's actually quite similar.
Yeah, very similar engineering concepts.
We'll start at the back suspension. As you know, brakes are pretty good. They're slotted. One thing I do like is the way that the brakes are attached. Already has a dog bone, and you can put washers in to space it out and do a bigger rotor.
Yeah.
So like a bigger rotor upgrade's pretty easy. 2 lower control arms. The one at the front's non-adjustable. The one at the back is, which will adjust toe. So there is no camber adjustment factory in this car. Hard Race makes an adjustable camber arm up top, so we're good there, right?
Yep.
I don't know what camber they run factory. I want to get it wheel aligned pretty soon.
Yep.
And obviously with a high grip tyre, we can go for some more negative camber. Obviously spring and shock are separate, but we can get an adjustable perch with the Shockworks coilover, so it's pretty straightforward.
They've already got a kick going.
Good solid link for the sway bars, which is good. Well, the sway bar won't be too difficult to do. I'm sure Whiteline will do one very soon. Exhaust.
What is this?
I know.
It's like not even an inch and a half.
I know. It's like 1.2 inches outer diameter on the pipe. So even though it's like 2 3/4 or 2 1/2 in a lot of this exhaust system, there is a little point that goes down to like 2 1/4 just before the flange there. So which is a bit of a problem because if you put a 3-inch cap back on, you've still got 2 1/4 just before it, like this tiny little restriction.
But you're going to get a lot more sound from that.
Yeah, a lot more sound. But it looks like we've got 2 cats. We've got a cat built into the dump pipe, which is pretty common now for emissions, and another cat here.
Yeah.
Now this O2 sensor is before this cat. So we should be able to take this one out, replace it, change it, whatever, right?
Yeah.
And there's 2 bolts just up there, so we can go from after the dump pipe back pretty easily. Yeah. Front suspension's pretty basic, McPherson strut. There's no adjustment except toe, so what I was looking at is, if we don't do it, I'm sure Whiteline will. Someone will obviously change this rear bush so that we can get anti-lift and a bit more caster.
Yep.
Because obviously, more caster wouldn't be a bad thing.
Well, it's going to need it.
Sway bar looks really annoying to change, to be honest. That's frustrating.
That would be a subframe outcome.
Correct.
The other thing, like reinforcing these arms might be a thing, because
it wouldn't be hard to weld between there and there.
Just put a plate in there.
Just a plate there and a plate there.
Because if this is a similar design to the i30, when you put a bar in there, this actually gets a lot of twist in it.
That's twisting the front separate to the back.
Yep. You put a camber bolt in here.
Yeah, that's what I was going to get to next is obviously there's no camber adjustment at the top. Apparently it's single bolt, not 3 bolt like a Sylvia, so it's hard to do camber adjustment. Filter's tiny. Can you reckon you could get a remote adapter to do an oil cooler off that?
Yeah, definitely.
It's got the water style oil cooler. Keep it. Have a look at this though. Intercooler pipe here. It's 1.4 inches at its smallest. 1.4 inches to 1.8 into that pipe.
I guess we've got to keep in mind that it is only a small engine still.
Yeah. But that's the thing, it's a 1.6 litre. Like, there's no reason it can't make.
I guess it's still.
We've got 3.2 litres making 1,200 horsepower. Why can't this make 600?
Yeah.
So the intercooler pipe on this side is bigger, but look how small that is. But the problem is there's bottlenecks everywhere. So even if you change this intercooler pipe.
Where's the throttle body?
Up here. Built in a tiny Bosch. Looks like a Bosch electronic throttle. We'll see it from the top.
These pipes are really weirdly manufactured.
Yeah, strange,
That's like. What the hell's the go there?
I don't know, man.
That's just a little air duct.
Yeah, if you pulled them out, man, you got room to come forward.
Yeah. Well, we can even bring this, see this foam pad here?
Yeah.
We cut that down and space that out, depending on, I assume that the whole front end will come off as one piece. And then we might be able to get a bigger intercooler in behind it.
Now, if we can go bigger intercooler, we can go bigger inlets and outlets, which then means we can get to slightly bigger. Now, we don't want to go massively bigger.
Probably 2 inches on that side, 2.5 on this side.
What I do like though is equal length drive shafts.
Yep.
If you have a look at them, they've actually created the first pivot on the drive shaft CV, pretty much in line with the lower arm on both sides, so equal length shafts by spacing this side out.
And what I found it's quite neat is all this heat shielding is, hidden the tail shaft up under there. It's well protected, like. Good.
But have a look at the brakes, dude. 356 mil rotor, 2-piece. From factory. Someone already makes a bigger rotor, and because it's already got a dog bone on it, you can just put washers in there and a longer bolt, and you can space the caliper out. Let's go to the engine bay, huh?
Yeah, I want to see the top.
The turbocharger intake looks pretty basic here. Like there's not really any restrictions sort of once you get into this and to this. It has port injection and direct injection, which is good because port injection.
So there's the.
Well, port injection is going to spray under the valves, get the valves clean.
All right, so that's the...
But it'll be good for tuning. Air intake, people reckon there is some restriction in here to try and work with, but how's this, right? So you've got this cold air tube that's got a nice little duct at the front. You're thinking, hell yeah, I can direct some air in there. But have a look at this. Put your fingers in the back of it, it's hollow. So it lets bleed air go everywhere. But the thing is, that opening there isn't big enough to totally feed this airbox anyway. So they had to open all this up so it doesn't pressurise. But here's the funny part. Pull this off. There's a flap in there that opens up to breathe hot air. Some people modify that and just make it stay open.
Right.
So you get better induction noise.
Do you think that's...
Because this factory airbox, when you think about it, isn't actually that good, because if it has a flapper in the bottom, that's going to open up and suck hot air.
Yeah.
And then this has holes in the side,
so
it's only getting half fresh air. So out of all of the openings that this airbox have, 3/4 of it is sucking hot air. An oil cooler would fit in here really beautifully, right on this side and away from that tiny one.
Yeah. Well, it's 12 inches long, so...
Well, we need to get some data first on intake air temps anyway before we think about an intercooler, so...
Oh, we should put a catch can in it too.
Make a new one out of yours. You've got the i30 catch can, so I reckon we give it a go. Because why? Every single car ever made needs an oil air separator / catch can. If you haven't watched our video, watch it now. Every car, right?
Yeah, every car.
Why? It's because you're putting breather, contaminants, oil and stuff back into your intake. You're putting oil all through the turbo, the intercooler pipes, the intercooler, making it all work less efficiently and make less power. And any oil into the air fuel charge into the engine is basically going to lower the octane rating. So putting oil contaminants into your intake is bad. So we're going to try and up power, obviously up boost, so we want to have a catch can to stop that. And it should be pretty straightforward to do. So the first thing I wanted to do to our GR Yaris was personalise it. Why? Well, I wanted it to be known as the Motive Video Yaris straight away, not just a Yaris. So custom plates, well, they were a given, and of course, first thing got to do is change the wheels. I've always wanted a set of 1552 tarmacs since seeing them on Ken Block's Gymkhana cars, but never had the right car for them. Being a wide-body, hot-hatch rally car, the GR Yaris was perfect. So I ordered some 18 by 8.5 inch plus 30 tarmacs in gold that arrived just before the car, so they were ready to go. Now we knew that the GR Yaris came with pretty average rubber from factory, kind of like the Toyota 6. They did it on purpose, not just so it differentiates it from the top performance model of the Yaris, but also just to make the car a little bit more chuckable and easy to find the limit on the street. Now we don't want that, we want to go fast, so we decided to upgrade rubber at the same time as the wheels. Now we wanted a tyre that could drive to the track, cut some fast lap times, drive home, and then still be able to do the school run and any other type of driving you need to do around the city as well. Now, normally to get a tyre that can do that, you've got to spend around $500 or more per tyre, depending on what size you want. So it's a pretty tough ask for a tyre to do all of those things. John Boston from Track School suggested we try the Zestino Greg 07 RS, a 140 treadwear tyre that can do exactly what we asked, but for half the price. And it's already proven to take 2 seconds a lap off the Yaris's time at Wakefield. Sounded good to us, so we headed to Prestige Tyre and Auto in Marrickville, a major Zestino dealer who also test the product as well, to get them all fitted up. The Yaris has some big guards to fill, so we went for a 255/35 18-inch tyre, which we knew fit no problem. The final result is exactly what I was looking for. Rally-inspired looks with bigger and better rubber under the guards. Now, it goes without saying we are going to lower it, but we're waiting for our Shockworks coilovers to arrive. In fact, we may even wrap the car and change the colour of the wheels, but hey, we'll leave that as a bit of a surprise. So what else are we going to be doing to the car? Well, we've been working with Tuner's Edge to get their catback exhaust as well as their intake kit. Golby's Parts are working with us and we're going to be testing out their dump pipe and centre pipe on the car. We're going to be working with Tune House to tune the car. They've already had pretty good results with theirs. White Line are developing sway bars and anti-lift kit that will be here in a couple of weeks' time. We're going to be working with Lamb Speed to get a Cusco rear LSD. We're going to be getting some camber and tow arms for the car. We're going to get e-lig pads, rotors, lines. There's heaps of stuff that we're working on to get for this car. And we found out today we're also going to be getting one of the very first Turbo Smart blow-off valves to test on the Yaris as well. So there's a lot coming up with this car that we're going to be testing out so that you guys can learn from it and we can try and get some killer numbers out of this little hot hatch. Now in our next episode, the most important thing to do first is our tyre test. We're going to be taking the Zestinos to a rally sprint and to Wakefield to see what sort of improvement we can get with better rubber, and we're also going to fit up the Tuner's Edge catback exhaust and test out the K&N panel filter. See you then.